Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Introducing Finance and Supply Chain Workflows, also known as S2P. Um, Basically, the idea of these sessions is to give you, and it's not going to cover everything, but a good grounding on the topic, get a good understanding of actually what's involved inside of ServiceNow, Source-To-Pay, what products are in there, give you a run through of that, maybe take a look at the data model and highlight some of the key features and components. And then I'll do a live demo specifically to the APO component, the accounts processing component. So just quickly, a little bit about myself. My name's Stuart Shipp. Prior to moving to ServiceNow, I worked for a ServiceNow partner for about 15.5 years. I'm now a senior advisory solution consultant at ServiceNow, dedicated to the partner ecosystem, what we call GPC, Global Partnerships and Channel. So ServiceNow Source-To-Pay process basically orchestrates workflows across departments. Requesters, legal, finance, ESG and risk, procurement, and vendors all on one unified platform. And often it integrates with lots of other apps, and risk in particular, and of course third-party risk when we think about suppliers, is definitely one of those that comes into it. So each step from sourcing and contracting through onboarding, requisitioning, ordering, and payment is automated to drive efficiency and savings. And the diagram highlights those components, but also keenly think about the integrations. These are sort of key within this process. Key third-party systems like Coupa, SAP, Oracle, and SharePoint. So from a ServiceNow perspective, when we're talking source-to-pay, we're normally also talking our workflow data fabric capability, with a little bit more on that later. So what is it? At the moment, it's currently made up of three main products. The SPO, the Sourcing and Procurement Operations, which is aligned to Procurement Operations, Sourcing and Case Management. We've got SLO, Supplier Lifecycle Operations, and that's aligned to Supply Case Management and Operations. And then we've got Accounts Payable Operations, which is invoice processing and accounts payable cases. So three quite large products, all with their own capability, data models, mapping. There are some commonalities, of course, that are across them. So just a little bit deeper, SPO streamlines and automates the entire procurement lifecycle. This could be from employee request to supplier management and payment. And it enables employees to easily shop for goods and services through a self-service portal, while procurement teams manage approvals, orders, and supplier interactions in a centralized workspace. So SPO improves visibility, compliance, collaboration, and of course is looking to reduce procurement cycle times, control those costs, and enhance overall supply chain performance. We like to think about, what's the value add? What's the outcome that we want to see our customers deliver on? So for each of these, I just put a slide in around some of those metrics that can be used. Thinking about reducing case volumes, reducing resolution efforts, increasing the amount of spend that's under management. All of these are key considerations that really can help accelerate our customers to be successful. Then thinking about the SLO, the Supplier Lifecycle Operations. So this component automates and streamlines the end-to-end management of supplier relationships. So we're looking at onboarding and risk assessment to ongoing collaboration and performance monitoring. It's looking to provide a unified workspace, and there's a supplier portal where internal teams and suppliers can collaborate. They can manage tasks and share information efficiently, reduce manual work and data silos. And the platform enhances compliance, transparency, and decision-making by consolidating supply data, automating those workflows, and integrating with existing ERP and risk management systems. And from a kind of operational value lever, we're looking at things like simplifying onboarding and providing automation and case effort and volume reduction related to suppliers and supplier interactions. And then APO. So ServiceNow Accounts Payable Operations is looking to streamline the entire accounts payable process, from invoice receipt and digitization to approval, payment, and supplier inquiries. And it uses AI-powered document intelligence to automate invoice data capture, match purchase orders, manage exceptions, reducing manual data entry and errors while accelerating process times. Again, looking at some of those value levers, we're looking to reduce things like manual invoice processing, reduce the effort, streamline the payment, and basically automate where we can. And as I mentioned just at the beginning, integrations is key to this particular workflow and process. So definitely be thinking about ServiceNow's workflow data fabric and making sure that you're tightly coupled, and we've got the ability to do that, of course, and integrated to the likes of Coupa or SAP Ariba. So Coupa just quickly is designed for total spend management and supply chain operation and optimization. It looks to enable organizations to gain visibility over their control and spending. And then SAP Ariba is a comprehensive procurement and supply chain management for business. And typically in this space, we're integrating to both of those. So on to the data model. So I broke this out that basically extends the base task table with case and work constructs. It's also introducing both the finance and source-to-pay common architectures, a little bit more on that. And again, that's for sort of seamless ERP and sourcing system integrations. And the idea is these architectures are reusable across the platform, enabling consistency and scalability for the other ServiceNow applications. So what is finance common architecture? It's basically its own sort of set of tables. It'll introduce tables like fiscal calendars, accounting periods, journals, legal entities. There'll be user roles that come in with that, and obviously properties. And it's dealing with some key features like fiscal calendars, ERP source integrations, legal entity management, user roles, and so on. And then the source-to-pay common architecture is very similar. It brings in its own tables, typically purchase orders, requisitions, sourcing events, invoices, and other records. Again, with user roles and properties come in that, and that part's more around, purchasing, negotiations, shop line and PO line, pricing, delivery, etc. And then at the bottom we have the ERP integration framework and the source-to-pay integration framework. These elements are just pre-configured sort of API integrations, and they have staging tables, transform maps, and just preset security compliance that we can connect with. So visualization on SPO, one of the key parts is the shopping hub, which is a front-end portal experience, which contains core architecture and data elements such as products are displayed by category and supplier. Shoppers can choose to deliver based on office locations or create a new one. Payments can be split by cost centers. Shoppers can have tasks and they can confirm milestones, receipts, etc. And then the purchase and receipt automation provides the actual workflow from purchase request, requisition, and payment. So procurement specialists working on sources requests when buyers request for pricing, where they'll negotiate the price with the suppliers. Sourcing managers can negotiate with multiple suppliers and products using negotiation events and have the ability to award or market with no decision. Procurement specialists then will have purchase cases and tasks like onboarding and so on and so forth. And then at the bottom, the important part of the ERP integration, we can obviously do that out of box, getting that primary data, fixed assets, purchase orders, receipts, and invoices. And with ServiceNow, all of our products, we have an implementation maturity model, allowing customers to be able to consume as they need and can from the basic setup into the advanced setup. And then moving on to the Supplier Lifecycle Operation architecture, we have, again, the ability to use those common architecture models. There's integration layers to things like craft.co, which is a supplier intelligence and supply chain resilience platform, which is designed to help organizations discover and evaluate and monitor suppliers by providing comprehensive validated data and actual insights. and the platform aggregates various sort of data points covering key risks, etc. There's also integrations to things like from ServiceNow to Microsoft Bing News, and again, that's automatically delivering relevant real-time news articles about suppliers into the SLO workspace. And then you have your experience from playbooks and a supplier management piece. And importantly, we have a supply collaboration portal that we can interact from a ServiceNow perspective with those suppliers. And just quickly, just some of the data modeler, the related tables. Obviously not that important, but it's always nice from a technical standpoint to get a good understanding of how that's coming in and being used. And we have same an implementation sort of maturity model as we do for all our products around what should be configured first and how that can be absorbed and taken on by a customer dependent on their ability to consume and what stage they're at. Similarly, APO data model and how that looks, and a maturity model for that as well. So in this next section, I'm going to take a quick look at the main components and features. Remember, this is nowhere near exhaustive. Each of these products is pretty big, so I'm just calling out some of the key kind of components. And again, this doesn't replace doing your now learning, doing your training courses, which will go through this in depth. This is just a foundational sort of overview I'm trying to give you here. So looking at procurement case management, you have the life cycle, the ability for a shopper to come in, complete an item that then becomes a procurement case, and then that's worked through assignment, worked and out to closure. So some of the key bits is that employee center, and then the ability to put the shopping hub integration into that so that they can interact with it. And typically that's set up with your service catalogs, procurement cases, which are then split between different catalogs and categories. There's a source-to-pay workspace, which brings in all of that relevant information in one area. This visually sort of launches that one-stop shop experience and allows the agents to automate the entire process from tracking to fulfillment and order revision. We have the procurement and supply case tables. Each of these tables extend the original, but of course bringing in their own fields and data to allow for that seamless process. And as you would imagine with ServiceNow, there's a preset set of dashboards and reports and tables that come with this as well. And obviously you can build those out or build on top of them. So from a Supplier Lifecycle Operations, just remembering when we're trying to think about just the onboarding, the collaboration, the ongoing support, those integrations with third party, and very important, don't forget the offboarding capability that needs to be put in place. So for this, we have a supplier homepage with all the bells and whistles from a ServiceNow portal perspective, allowing them to see active items of their supplier products, risk assessments, activities and communications they're having. And of course, they can manage invoices, provide those invoices, submit them from their attachments as they expect. Any exceptions are also available and usable within that portal component. So that real end-to-end capability of interacting with the suppliers. And finally on to accounts payable. And as I mentioned, these are just whistle tool parts, but it just gives you a few of the components. We have the ability to obviously ingest all those invoices, could be from the portal, could be email, could be the API, third party. And then we have that ServiceNow Document Intelligence, which ingests those invoices and takes all the manual labor of creating that invoice and the invoice line items for you. So you literally can go in there as an AP agent and just quickly check through those, and we'll highlight that during the demo. And then when those come in, we're matching purchase orderings, we're checking for duplicates, the exception management goes through the normal approval process, and then typically that process will then push out to an ERP system for payment. With this as well, we have the Source-To-Pay workspace, so we can see those inquiries and invoices as they come in and manage them accordingly. There's a case review component with all the available pieces that you would expect from the ServiceNow interface. And then that can work through with its related records. The system is looking to automatically detect if there's any ingestion errors coming in from that document intelligence component. It's also looking for duplicates out of the box so that we can see if there's something that's similar or something that's been submitted, and the system's taking care of that for you. And of course, our exceptions handling. So once matching is all complete, exceptions can be flagged. Things like maybe the tax is missing, maybe some details are missing, maybe there's the wrong quantity that's come through. So the document intelligence as well is an artificial intelligence AI solution that continues to learn and grow, particularly as you start to use it. But basically, it's digitizing the digestion of the invoices, maybe from an email or from the portal, and automatically, as we said, mapping those details to the invoice component and the invoice line. It's a real-time saving capability, and hopefully we'll take a look at that in the demo. So just bringing all those things together, I always find it's quite good to have a one-stop slide that has a lot of capability all in one place. So it's just bringing those capabilities for each component. This is the SPO one. And then we've done the same for the SLO one and the APO piece. So hopefully those are useful. And this slide, it highlights how integrating source-to-pay operations with third-party risk management is really key. It creates a more resilient and efficient supplier ecosystem. By embedding risk directly into supplier workflows and portals, we can accelerate onboarding, improve supplier quality, and monitor risk across the full supplier lifecycle. And this unified approach not only shortens resolution times for risk issue, but also strengthens compliance through built-in templates, formalized processes, and collaborative workflows. And obviously, I work in the partner ecosystem, so the content here is more geared towards a partner and a partner implementer. So this is our demo HUD systems that you can access as a partner of ServiceNow that allow you to build out these stories very quickly. And then, of course, we've got our training plans and university components, and now create capabilities that all of our partners can have access to help them accelerate down this journey and help customers accelerate to value quicker. And in the demo we're going to do a simple submission from a supplier. The invoice is going to come in. We're going to have someone work on that invoice, show the document intelligence, building it out, extract any information, go through any exceptions, and then make sure that we're following up that we've got the right quantities. And then once that goes through, we can push it out so it's ready for release. So thanks for going through the slide deck. The next part will be the demo, which hopefully you will find just as useful. Thanks. Great. So for the demo, we're going to have a few personas. We're going to have Shirley Ross, who's an employee business owner. We're going to have Giddy Parker, who's an accounts payable specialist. And then we've got Frank Alex, which is a supply contact. So as I mentioned, this is the API component. Our suppliers have been added. The whole capability has been set up. We've got our procurement case lifecycle going on. And in this one, we're going to talk about invoice ingestion, using an invoice, and then pushing it through that process. Remember, the invoice could come in through an email. But what we do today is we're going to go in and impersonate as Frank Alex. And as Frank, and being a supplier contact, we're going to go and work inside of the supplier collaboration portal. Just wait for that to log in. Great. So I'm just going to go up to the supplier collaboration portal. And here we could obviously see any of our details, the company that I work for or Frank works for, which is Vantage. And today I want to come in and raise a request about an invoice. Obviously, I'd have the ability to chat, interact, use the knowledge components that you expect from a ServiceNow portal. So let's go to raise a request. And inside of that, we've got lots of different options. Today, we're going to look at submitting a new invoice. So here we can have lots of types, but we're going to do a non-PO invoice. Everybody knows that I'm part of Advantage, and then I can add a particular file for that. So just going to add in and once we're ready, we can submit that. So just a very sort of simple action. We could have different questions that could be built up as we want. But basically, it allows the suppliers to interact in any form or manner that they like. So now I'm going to end that impersonation. I'm going to go back in the system and just do another sort of invoice submission. So that was obviously from a supply context, but maybe it's an employee that's received an invoice from the supplier directly because they've ordered something for it. So let's impersonate Shirley. And then Shirley's experience is mainly involved around the employee portal. So we're going to go to the EC home. Pretty similar, obviously, in concept between this and the supplier portal, but this is that employee focus component. And what we're going to do is we're going to go in and submit this invoice from that employee view. So that's come up. We're going to go to the categorization for this as per the slide deck. We can build these out as you like. We're going to go to invoices and we're going to submit an invoice for an employee. So this time not a supplier, right? We're an employee that's going through this. And let's say this is a PO invoice, totally fictitious. And we've got a PO number for this that we can use that's useful for Vantage. And then of course we can add our attachment, the actual invoice itself. And the importance of this is it will show up in the doc intelligence piece once we run through that. So another just simple interaction of how to get that into the system. And as I mentioned, you can set up emails. That omni-channel experience exists wherever we see it. Great, so let's end those impersonations. And now we're going to go in as part of that accounts payable team. And this time I'm going to impersonate, I say Gilly, it could be Jilly, but we'll go with Gilly, just because I like saying Gilly. I'm going to go with Gilly Parker. So of course, from an internal component, we're going to be using our Source-To-Pay workspace. That's where we live and breathe. And if you're not used to workspaces, the idea is bringing all the correct information that I need to be working on in the correct order and the correct priorities. You can do quick action links, list views, and graphs really to help whichever persona is coming into the tool to understand things, understand what needs to be worked on, and where to go for that. So we're going to go down to the invoices. We can do a list view for that. Or of course, we could do it from this component. And I've just done a sort, so I've got the latest one, and then we can see. Well, we'll process this one from Shirley Ross that came in. So we set these up so that we're automatically using a great capability in ServiceNow with the playbooks. And that allows you to walk through the process in a really easy, understandable manner, particularly if maybe you've come along and you're not totally sure how that particular one works. These playbooks can help the agents move in the correct direction when they're going through that. So we're going to review the invoice. And this actually pushes us into that document intelligence tab. So this is the automated AI. And this is the great thing. So we've submitted this invoice and the AI capabilities actually gone through and filled out all of this information. And this is a really time-saving component, right? So most fields that need to have values are already populated. Yes, there's still the human interaction. We've got to go through it and it'll continue to learn. But this is a real time-saving component we go in. So I think subtotal looks like it hasn't come through. We can tell that should be 900. And you'll see here, it's trying to learn as we go, right? So it's predicting and then moving that forward. And this will help it train itself as you continue to fill these in to know where to pick certain values from. We'll put 900 in for that. And then just check if we've got any other components that are missing. Everything else looks pretty good. So yeah, it's done a great job bringing all that information in. I've got a few things down here. So let's go and look at the actual invoice lines. And again, I want you to think about the time-saving piece here. Imagine having to do this from scratch. And now actually, again, the document intelligence have gone through and filled out this information for us directly. Yes, we just need to check a few things, but it's an incredibly fast component that goes in from that. So it looks like we're missing some extra components. I think this should be 800. It's kind of, again, suggesting that. So we'll put 800 in. There should be one. We're going to edit this. So one, it was almost going to do it 93%. There could be the unit price. We know that's going to be 800. And then it could be, as we said, missing quantity. We go through, we validate these. The text line, maybe that's missing. We need to follow up on that one. So, missing the document. And that's missing in the document. And then let's put a line description. What do we know the top one is? Oops, sorry. So it's the surface. 1,000. Put that in. And then we can fill those out. But again, the key thing is the system is taking this through, and then we can mark it as reviewed or not. And then we're going to submit this. But just think about the power there, that this is such a time-consuming exercise now taken over by AI and pushed into that system. So we're going to hit submit, confirm and submit. We see that that's moved to done. Now we can go back to our playbook view, and we can see that those have come through. And now we can look at reviewing any duplicates. And the reason is, obviously, this is a test system, but here's a classic example that's going through. This looks very similar because there's the same invoice number. But for the sake of the demo, obviously, I'm going to put not a duplicate, but that's a good show and tell of the system looking up for these straight away. And that goes through. And then we're going to go into our review invoice lines. So they're, again, automatically pushing through. And we can see we've got a couple of exceptions that we need to deal with. So I'm just going to hit the now assist as well. Don't forget, we've got Gen AI tied in to absolutely everything. It can summarize this case. We can build out that detail, look at what's the next steps. What do we have to do? We have to review the exceptions that have come through and look at how we fix those. So let's just open the first exception. Invoice affected lines. Let's open one of these up. And we can see a tax code is missing, right? So we can just put that in. Doesn't really matter what it is. And then we've managed that exception. Let's look at the Jabra, same thing. And we can manage that exception and put it in. But again, the system's telling me what I need to look at, what I need to look for, and how to push those through. We can close those off, go back to our details, and let's hit the next exception. And just for the sake of speediness, right, it could be different invoice lines, or there could be some issues with it. But again, the system's telling you to do that. Just going to bypass it. We don't need to go through all of those components. And now we've got all of our exceptions dealt with. We can see that automatically the system's picked those up. It's automatically gone off to edit approval. Remember, there could be exceptions that we need to go back to the supplier and get information from the supplier portal, but that's all been taken care of, and it goes through and comes through from that. And then basically the invoice will be running. That'll gone through an approval. This one obviously jumped through, and then the invoice has been sent out. So hopefully that was just a whistle tour look at the APO process. We haven't shown all the features, but it gives you a good idea of just what that APO section can be like, what they can do, and a classic example of how that's going through and how we can save a huge amount of time from an accounts processing point of view, using things like Assist, the Doc Intelligence, our playbooks, and all that capability that sits in there. So I hope you found this demo and session useful.